If I'm going to get healthy, I got to let go of this person, the unhealthy parts. I got to let go of this activity, the unhealthy parts. I got to let go of this thing, the unhealthy parts. And I have to find healthy. So let me explain that. So several aspects that come out of complex trauma. So number one, we connect to things that aren't healthy. So we have said over and over again that the greatest drive that a child is born with is to connect, to attach, because a child can't meet any of their own needs. So the only way they're going to survive and get their needs met is if they attach to somebody who can meet their needs. The bottom line with complex trauma is a child tries to connect with mom and dad or caregivers, but they're either too busy, too involved in their own issues, don't care, don't know how to meet the child's needs, don't know how to connect, don't know how to be present. And so the child is not able to connect with those people. That then puts the child in a dilemma because they need to connect. They're driven to connect. So if they can't connect with their caregivers, they will connect with something. So here's kind of how it plays out in general terms. The first thing that the child will try to do is they still want to connect with mom and dad. And they'll use two methods to try and connect with mom and dad. If mom and dad won't connect with me when I'm authentic, they must find something wrong with me, something that's my fault that causes them not to want to connect with me. So that's a shame message. So therefore, I will learn to fawn. I will learn to be what they want me to be. I will learn to read them, their needs, their priorities, their beliefs, and I will become what they want so that then they will connect with me. So I will become a people pleaser. So the whole belief then is if I'm going to get my needs met, I need people to connect with, but the only way to do it is not by being authentic, it's by being fake. Authenticity prevents connection. So that's number one. Number two is, okay, if they still don't want to connect with me, even when I'm a super good people-pleasing person, then I will find an area that causes them to give my attention, even if it's doing bad stuff. So I will be a really bad kid. And if that causes them to be fully present to me and give me their full attention, they will connect with me. That is better than nothing. If I have to be sick all the time, have problems all the time, be in pain all the time, and that's the only thing that gets their attention and empathy, then I will do that. If I have to be angry and rebel and be violent, and that gets their attention, that's good enough. But I am desperate to get their attention. I will resort to whatever I have to do to try and get their attention. So those are the two things they still try with parents, but then they go beyond that. Okay, it's obvious I'm not fitting in and connecting very well at home, so let's look outside the home for sources of connection, where I can fit in, where I can belong. So let's find peer groups where I can fit in. And so they look for what they think are the cool kids, the kids that they want to be like, the kids that they see as they seem to get respect. They seem to be looked up to. So what do I have to do to fit into this group, to belong, to get my needs met, to connect with this group? That becomes their next connection point. But again, what I want you to see is their belief is, if I'm going to fit into this group, I can't be authentic. I have to conform. I have to fawn. I have to be a chameleon, be what they want me to be. That is the only way I will connect and get my needs met. So they have a form of attachment, but it's not a secure attachment. It's very conditional on them continuing to conform. But then it goes beyond that. They're still not totally satisfied. They still are driven to want to connect in other ways. And so they will now try to connect with things that give them the feelings of connection that they should be getting from a person, but it's not happening with people. So let's try to get the feelings from things. So they might have a teddy bear, a blanket. They might get a new bike, and that bike just makes them feel so good. It gives all the positive feelings that they should have got from people, but now they get from a thing. Then it goes beyond that. They then develop activities that are soothing, that give them really good feelings, that help them disconnect from the pain of their day-by-day existence, that help them not have to be present in the pain of their day-by-day, but escape that pain for a while and have good feelings. So they might escape to a fantasy world. They might just play video games all day, and that takes them out of their world. They might eat food, and food gives them the good feelings and takes them out of the world. They might find masturbation, and that takes them out and gives them all the good feelings. They might get into porn. They might get into sports or even extreme sports and adrenaline rush stuff. But they begin to find activities that give the feelings that are really good, and they develop connections. They attach to those activities as being lifelines, as being necessary things for them to get their needs met, to be happy. And then part of what develops with that as they're witnessing the world around them is they begin to develop beliefs that if I have this type of success, if I have this much money, this much position, if I have this body, if I have these possessions, if I have this friend group, they develop an image of what they think will make them truly happy. And then they develop an attachment to that image, to the status that they think they need. So what I want you to realize is what comes out of complex trauma is the child is still driven to connect. And if they can't connect in a healthy way with mom and dad, they will find other things to connect with, and those things will not give true secure attachment. They will give some of the feelings, but they will leave their soul empty. But they will still connect with it because it does give positive stuff. But it will lead to great heartache down the road. So what that means in recovery is that if you're going to get healthy, then you have to let go of the unhealthy connections with unhealthy people, with unhealthy activities, with unhealthy things. Now, the problem is that with a lot of those things, there were some aspects of them that were healthy. Playing a video game, eating food, having sex. There's a healthy part to that. But you've attached to it in a way that you've overdone it, and you've overused that to try to meet needs it wasn't designed to meet, and now you have an unhealthy aspect to that connection. So you've got some healthy connection stuff happening, but lots of unhealthy connection stuff. And so for you to get healthy, it's for you to begin to realize I have to separate what part of this is healthy, what part of this is unhealthy. I can maintain a relationship with this thing in a healthy way, but I need boundaries now so that I don't slide into the unhealthy relationships. What I might find in some cases is this person or this activity or this thing is totally unhealthy. It is totally toxic for me. I need an extreme boundary where I cut it out of my life. But for most things, I am going to find a change in boundaries. I'm not going to have the old boundaries that allowed healthy and unhealthy. I'm going to have new boundaries that will only allow the healthy and cut out the healthy. And that takes a ton of work and time to figure out. But that is recovery. Now, let me show you a second part of complex trauma. So not only are all these connections happening that are unhealthy, they're adaptations, coping behaviors that are happening that are allowing the child to survive, to protect them from being hurt, to try and get their needs met. And what you find is some of the adaptations the parents approve of, other adaptations that parents don't approve of. And so the adaptations that get validation from parents, you develop a special attachment to. Those are the hardest to let go. So let me give you some examples of some of the adaptations. And again, many of them have a mix of healthy and unhealthy. So a child who might be naturally funny and that gets validation from their parents might just conclude they need to be funny all the time. Or a child might conclude that to stay safe, they have to always be in control. And so they work to become control of everything and everybody. Or, and they're going to survive and get their needs met, they need to be a people pleaser. They need to learn to read the room, read people, read their values, read their priorities, read their needs, take care of them first. Hopefully then the person will like them and give them what they want. Some, they go, if I'm just a martyr all the time, poor me, life is so hard, then people feel sorry for me, people take care of me. So they adapt and begin to do that. Others, they go to lying as a way to survive, and lying becomes their adaptation. Others go to, I'm not going to trust anybody. Everybody's stabbed me in the back, betrayed me, let me down, don't trust anyone. That's their adaptation. Others live with constant anxiety because there's always been danger around them. So their adaptation in the brain is just to be constantly on guard, hypervigilant, always having a bit of anxiety. Others develop a strong inner critic where you're constantly judging yourself. And then others develop a critic that turns outward where you're looking at everything, finding fault with everything, being negative and critical of everything. That's your way of surviving. That's your adaptations. Others go to, I will be a flirt. I will be very sexual. I will have a perfect body that's very sexual. I will try to be the most desired person in the room. I will perform fantastic in bed. Everything becomes about sex. That's their adaptation. Others go to, I will be a workaholic. I will constantly help others. I will be smarter than everybody. I will have all kinds of accomplishments that get me respect. That's their adaptation. They get tons of validation for that. And that makes them think, this is a great adaptation. This is working very well for me. Others go to, I will never be angry. I will never be sad. I will never get depressed. I will be happy all the time. I will avoid conflict at all costs. I will never rock the boat. That's their adaptations. Others go, I will suppress every negative emotion. I will deny my feelings. I will minimize my pain. In other words, I am going to use my brain to make everything go away so that I don't feel. So I will become a head, a brain on legs, minus feelings. Others take their brain and the adaptation of the brain to, I will overthink everything. If I could figure everything out, analyze everything to death, then if I can figure everything out, then I can solve everything. And I'll fix all my problems just by thinking. And so that's their adaptation. Others go, I will become invisible. I will have no needs. I will never make demands. I will never put myself out there. That way I'll never get hurt. I will never be a burden to anybody. Nobody will resent me. Others, I will be super compliant to a religious organization, to a group, and do whatever they want. And I will live this very moral, religious life that will give me tons of validation within that group, and then I'll get my needs met. So what I want you to see is all of those adaptations got the child validation, kept the child safe, got their needs met. And so a child will develop a super strong attachment to that because it seems to work. It's not until 20 to 30 years later that they begin to realize that all of these adaptations that kept me safe physically are now maladaptations. They are not working now. I'm not able to have an intimate relationship because I don't trust, because I'm a control freak, because I suppress all my feelings. It is causing me all kinds of problems. So what I thought was a great adaptation now is hurting those I love, now is hurting me, now is preventing healthy relationships in my life. So when you stop and think about that, most people from complex trauma have got hundreds of adaptations that are really maladaptations. They kept them safe physically, but now they're preventing a healthy life, healthy relationships, and they're hurting those you love and yourself. So to get healthy means to let go of all the unhealthy adaptations. That is a lot of letting go. That is a lot of figuring out, okay, I adapted by people pleasing, but that doesn't mean that I should never please anybody. I now have to figure out when it's healthy to please people and when it's unhealthy to please people. I can be in control or I can be funny, but I can take it too far. I can go from healthy funny to unhealthy all the time funny. I can go from healthy control to unhealthy control. I have to figure out healthy use, a healthy adaptation versus an unhealthy maladaptation. And so that is so hard to do, especially when you've spent the last 20, 30 years thinking it was a great adaptation, when it seemed to be working for you. But now you've got to figure it out and let go. Well, there's a third thing that comes out of complex trauma, and that is beliefs and values that are basically lies. So a child, because of living in an unsafe environment, has a world that they live in that they develop a whole set of beliefs that seem to be the truth, but they actually prevent a healthy life in a safe environment. So again, let me give you some examples. What comes out of complex trauma is a child begins to believe that if you see the real me, you're going to reject me. You're going to abandon me. Therefore, never be authentic. Or authenticity does not result in connection. It causes people to reject you, but being fake results in connection. So be fake. Or you can't trust anybody, so everybody's going to stab you in the back and let you down, so don't trust anybody. So they believe that that's the truth. That's how they need to approach adult life and relationships. Or I'm constantly being criticized, neglected, abused, abandoned. I'm a failure. I can't do anything right. I don't deserve a good life. Others believe my needs don't matter as much as yours. My needs always have to be subservient to yours, subject to yours, because I don't matter as much as you. Or I must be perfect in order to be good enough. Or I must never be angry or upset. Or you must never be angry or upset with me, because that proves that I'm not good enough. That proves that I'm bad. Or my greatest asset is my body, or my greatest asset is my brain, or my greatest asset is my accomplishments. I don't have inherent value. So I must always be accomplishing something in order to have value. People are only going to be interested in a relationship with me because they want to use me. They don't love me with no strings attached. There's always strings attached, a hidden agenda. The only way I'm going to get respected is to be successful in the world's eyes, to have all the right externals. I'll never be respected for who I am, only for my position, my possessions, my power. If I ever am sad or angry, I'm a bad person. I must never have needs or ask for help, because then people will resent me. They will see me as a burden, or they'll see me as a selfish person. Introverts are inferior to extroverts. Extroverts have lots of friends. Extroverts are the life of parties. So if I'm an introvert, then I'm an inferior person. If I'm not funny and a bit crazy out there, then people will think I am boring and not want to be my friend. So for a child coming out of complex trauma, they have hundreds of these lies that they believe, but they seem like the truth to that child. Those following those lies, don't trust anybody, put your needs below everybody else's, they don't matter. That seemed to be the truth. That kept them safe. That got some of their needs met. And so when you come 20, 30 years later and you begin to realize what I thought was the truth is actually a lie, that is a shock. But then to let go of that lie that seemed to be the truth, that served you what seemed to be quite well for years, but now those lies are preventing healthy relationships. Now those lies are causing you to sabotage every good thing in your life. Now those lies are causing you to hurt the ones you love the most. What you begin to realize is a child formed a strong attachment to those lies. And now in recovery, to let go of those lies, to face those lies and let go of them, it is easier said than done. It is a slow, painful process to begin to identify the lies, number one, then to let go of them. But it is so important to do that.